Jackson was born in the industrial city of Gary, in Indiana, on the 29th of August, 1958, the seventh of 9 children. His father, Joseph Jackson, a steel mill worker, recognized his children's musical talents and organized a family band made up of Jackie, Jermaine, Tito, and Marlon. In 1963, when Michael was just 5, he also joined the group. Joe was a firm disciplinarian who scheduled a strict regime for Michael and his brothers. And their relentless hours of practice left very little time for normal childhood activities.
Did you meet Joe?
I've met Joe a few times.
And?
Well, he's the father of Michael, but they are so totally different, like chalk and cheese. If you look at his background, he's come from, basically he was a welder in a very poor town in mid-America and has been catapulted through on the back of his children into some huge stardom. Michael is probably like the complete opposite.
Michael described his relationship with his father as turbulent. Joe was so determined his sons would be successful that in rehearsals, a fumbled note or a misstep could lead to harsh physical punishment.
Michael himself talked of the horror of being beaten by his father. Whipped was the word. And how his father would sit there as they were rehearsing with a belt, waiting to smack them if they got it wrong. But then on the other hand, he called his father a genius for instilling in them the discipline to present this slick stage act.
From my analysis, I believe that Michael was a very sensitive, very, very sensitive kind of individual. So even though you have a really strict parents, there are some children that can handle that strictness. But there are other children, it really affects them.
People respond to that kind of abuse differently. And with some of the other brothers, I think that, it didn't impact them the same way psychologically that it did Michael. It really hurt him, and he carried it throughout the rest of his life, that his father drove him and pushed him, but never treated him like a son.
Every time he would speak about his father, his face would contort. You could see that he was really, really stressed about his experience with his father. It definitely had a damaging effect on him. It really did.
Michael later said he was made to work too hard for a child, but also recalled singing and dancing with real joy as a youngster.
He did discuss his childhood with me, and I think that he's been quite open about his childhood. In terms of his relationship with his father, I think what the public doesn't know is that he forgave his father for some of the hurt that was caused, and at the end of his life, he was very much on good terms with his father. So I think that a lot of the things, they happened a long time ago, and, Michael forgave.
I think if Joe didn't do what he did, there would have been no Michael Jackson. I'm not one of these people that say, point the finger at the father. He took a very poor family, took a talent that he saw, and he gave it to the world.
By the time he was 8, Michael had emerged as the group's lead vocalist. The Jackson brothers changed their name to the Jackson 5 and toured clubs all over the American Midwest.
Joe Jackson was always very, very certain that he was going to turn his children into stars. I think it was probably pretty disturbing to him in many ways that Michael was the brother who very clearly was the most talented, because he was never particularly close to Michael, and he always probably gave Michael the harshest treatment.
Michael was already showing a remarkable range and depth for such a young performer, impressing audiences with his great dancing and ability to convey complex emotions. After winning a major local talent show with renditions of Motown hits and James Brown's I Got You, the Jackson 5 were signed by Berry Gordy to the legendary Motown record label.